Boom, we're live.
All right.
My name is Patrick P.D. Delgado, the creator of the SPEAR and the CMARSPP'S life principles. My co-host is my best friend, Kenny Candia, the ambassador of the SPEAR and the CMARSPP'S life principles.
SPPRR is spelled SPPRR, which is an abbreviation for the 5 components of your life and how to manage each one individually. The first letter is S, and that's for spiritual. Next is P, and that's for physical. The next P is for psychological. R is for relationships, and the last R is for resources.
The premise of the podcast is education and fulfillment in each of those 5 components. The problem is there's a lot of misinformation regarding long-term success in any of those given components of your life. Applying the principles of your life spirit is the antidote to not knowing where to find long-term fulfillment. Remember, success is dependent upon the application of the information.
And because the principles that are taught here are unique every single week, this can't be found or duplicated anywhere else. So make sure to follow the weekly podcast and leave us a review and give us a comment.
Welcome to your Life Spirit Podcast, episode 12. Today is December 12th, Tuesday, 2023. Today we're towards the end of CMARSPP'S. We're on the last P, which is practice. And so today that's what we're discussing on CMARSPP is practice. So practice, if you could break it down, what would you say practicing is to you, Kenny?
Practicing, man. I feel like anybody watching this or listening to this, if they hear the word practice, something immediately comes to mind. And I think when I heard the word practice, I immediately thought of like Michael Jordan shooting free throws or LeBron James shooting 3-pointers over and over and over and over again. And practice actually makes you better, obviously, at a lot of things. There's something I did want to point out, though. So you could practice and do all the type of practicing you want, but if you're practicing bad, I mean, that's not good. It'll do you an injustice. So I could practice shooting the ball, like just pushing like every time, trying to just get it in the hoop. Like, dude, I need to practice with good form, make sure my form's good. I like the quote, practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. You got to practice in a good way. You got to make sure your form's good. You got to make sure you're practicing in a good way, because you can practice bad habits and habits.
It's so knowing the fundamentals of what you're doing, right? So if
Exactly.
you're trying to achieve long-term success in whatever discipline or component of your life sphere, you're going to need to know what are the fundamentals of what you need to do on a daily basis. Those are your dailies, weeklies, monthlies, but specifically dailies. And so that's what it does is on a daily basis, you're able to self-correct as you're doing it. So for example, you love exercising, Kenny. So when you're exercising, you were just explaining just a minute ago before we got started on a technique that your trainer was telling you about of how to, why don't you explain it?
Yeah, that's a static stretching to stimulate your chest muscles. So it's a superset, laying down, you're doing an incline chest fly. The weight's relatively low. I was doing 35-pound chest fly, going in and out, doing it 10 times. And then after my 10th rep, I hold the dumbbell near my chest down at the bottom, and I slowly open up my hands, and it stretches my chest muscle. And I hold it there for about 6 seconds, and I open up more and more. And the more and more I keep opening it up, the more and more it burns, the more and more lactic acid is getting into my chest muscles. The more it's stretching, the more it's just like pretty brutal way of getting a chest pump and working your chest muscle. And now I'm like, okay, cool. That's something I learned. I'm going to keep doing that, because my coach today, he mentioned to me there's 2 types of fibers. There's ones that are like on top of your muscle, and there's ones real deep inside your muscle that don't really get activated like that. And there's ways to get those super deep chest or muscle fibers into your muscle. It takes a different technique, and it takes practicing and practicing to get into those deeper fibers.
So you're deductively working on error correction. You're reasoning, right? You're figuring out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, but you're doing that because you're doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we learn through repetition. As you're doing it through repetition on your daily basis, you're recognizing, and it's really self-observation, interoception or introception. I like this quote of a lifelong period of deliberate effort to improve in a specific outcome, right? So whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So in your case, it's more of on a physical basis, but let's talk about other components.
It could be any of your spirits, like spiritual. I was just thinking about how I practice my spiritual component, and there's something I could actually do to practice, because I'm a teacher, Sunday school teacher. So like I practice that. The more I practice, the more I teach, the more I get better and better. So that's something. But practicing yourself, or practicing your spiritual component, that's where we actually start from or with this. Practicing your spiritual component. I know you, Patrick, you're really getting yourself like dialed in spiritually. What is something that you practice?
Well, spiritually, so I wanted to talk about something physical first.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
bro. Go ahead,
No,
go
just
ahead.
because I had this personal experience. So me today at the gym, I usually do 5 sets of 12. But now I wanted to jump it up to 15. But before I went in, I told myself, I'll do 12, maybe I'll do 15. I wasn't 100% committed. In other words, it wasn't written down. It wasn't one of my commitments. So it's not part of my plan. So planning comes before your practice. So you have to know exactly what it is you've committed to. And so Equity and I talked about it afterwards of why I didn't do 15. And it was mentally, I hadn't committed to doing 15. That's the plan. It wasn't my plan going in. It was committed in my head, but I wasn't 100% committed. So going back to spiritual practice, dude, you're calling me out on the spiritual side.
Something that we like to do is challenge ourselves or get us uncomfortable is going up and bearing your testimony in front of the entire congregation.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something we practice, our bearing our testimony, sharing our experiences and what we believe to know to be true. We both are Sunday school teachers too. We practice teaching. A lot of things we practice at church. And I think the most important thing with spiritual is this practice getting into habits of things that are going to keep you on that spiritual track. Practice those habits.
Yeah, it's harder to do something over and over again. That's really what it comes down to. And it's harder to burn those neurological pathways into that gray matter in the brain, because if you haven't done it on a regular basis, your body, your spirit, your bank account, whatever isn't accustomed, you're not used to pushing yourself to that extent. So I want to talk about the consistency rule. You heard about the 100-hour in a year rule, Kenny?
100-hour, no.
Yeah. So you break it down, it's 18 minutes a day. So whatever discipline you're trying to achieve, the rule of 100, apparently there's a study somewhere out there. I don't know, you go look it up. And the study says that if you apply yourself 100, it's 100 hours a year. So break that down to on a daily basis, 18 minutes a day. And you'll be better than over 90%. Let me see my notes. 95% of the world. Apparently, if you commit to 18 minutes a day, I would have to say, what can you say you're 95 or 90% better than the rest of the world? Can you?
Oh, man. Probably a lot of things that I'm.
In other words, what have you been doing consistently
working
for the
out,
last year?
getting fit, working out.
There you go, bro. So it shows, right?
Yeah.
It's not
being super consistent with that.
Yeah. So that's one of your strengths. That takes me to another thing. When it comes to your skills, invest in your strength. Remember we talked about this? When it comes to your qualities, invest in your weakness.
Oh yeah. Skills, invest in strength. Qualities, invest in weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
You get the qualities, invest in weaknesses. You have an example?
Examples of
qualities.
Qualities?
Like investing like qualities and weaknesses.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
I mean,
hang on. Let me bust this out.
Getting fit wasn't always a strength for me, man. Days I had to force myself to go to the gym, even go to the gym 4 times in a month.
So this is something real simple. This is my mission journal. I want to share something personal here. So if you look at the beginning of how I wrote, this is how I wrote before. So that's chicken scratch. So what I did, I'm going all the way back to my mission, bro. Yeah. Eventually I learned how to write in cursive. You see that? Yeah. So that's something that I had to deliberately put a practice on a daily basis to become better at. So that's something simple, something.
Yeah. Think about weaknesses that you have.
Oh yeah. My abs are pretty weak. So I try to start working my abs.
Dude, no. My abs and my hamstrings are like the weakest part of my muscle groups. So now I started, I was like, I'm not going to even train them. Screw it. I'm just going to work out and get fit without them. But eventually I'm just like, let me just start training them. Cause by the second set of either my abs or my hamstrings, I'd start cramping up and I'm like, I'm like already depleted. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like doing 1 set, 2 sets every time I work it out. So don't do them. No, you continue to do it. So what I would do on my abs, I hit the second set. I'm already starting to cramp up in my abs. I'm like, oh, freak. I stop. I go and stretch my abs for a few minutes. And I go do another ab workout. I go do leg raises. So I just do another ab workout that's going to stimulate my abs in another way. then I'm able to get 2, 3 more sets in. So now I'm doing 5 sets every time I work on my abs. So I'm doing 5 sets a week. I started really focusing on. Now I can go infinite, man. I can just go until my abs are just tired, not freaking cramping.
Bro. So
Oh,
you're right on. You're right. It is. And I think part of it is because you committed yourself to competing.
yeah, but my abs were like weak like a year ago, and I told myself I wasn't gonna compete. I still didn't want my abs to be freaking cramping. That's hecka out of shape, man. But I wasn't doing 3 times a week. Remember, like a couple months ago, I was like really well for doing
Right.
abs 3 times a week. I was just crushing it.
Yeah.
Now it's back to once.
I'm back to 3, bro. I actually stepped it up.
Oh, it's tomorrow. You doing abs tomorrow?
No, I did it today.
Damn it,
Today.
man. Tomorrow's my ab day. I need
Abs,
a good routine.
abs and cardio today.
Yeah.
So break down your goal into a repetitive component. That's really what it comes down to. You can do on a daily basis. I want to talk about this, the compounding time. Think about so if you do something consistently on a daily basis, like growing a plant, daily growth, it's not seen until over time. So that's why when you're writing things down, that's the recorded component of CMARSPP'S we talked about earlier. When you're writing that down, this is where you get a chance to look back on and look at where you can improve. And you actually have quantitative data you can look back on and see where you can improve on in the different 5 components of your life. The other thing I want to talk about, Kenny, was when you're doing that on a daily basis, what it does is it gets you into your flow, state of flow, and changes your mind from an instinctive mind to a reactive mind. And that's where we're talking about when something you're more accustomed, you're putting your body on a physical, on the physical aspect. If you're putting your body through something repetitively over time, your body adapts to it. So that's homeostasis. It's constantly trying to adapt, become, what do you call it? Your body's trying to adapt and be comfortable. It's constantly trying to find comfort. So if you put it through discomfort, hormetic stress, controlled stress on a daily basis, your body slowly adapts. You want adaptation to happen. You want to become better. And that's why you're doing. So it really is the stimulus response and training your brain to be responsive in those parts, those areas of your life.
If we're jumping to the next principle, the psychological, few things I actually was able to practice over the last couple years where I just don't do anymore. And if I do it, I'm able to really like just catch myself. Psychological, it has to do with your brain, the way you think, the way if you're learning, if you're happy, all emotions, all that is psychological. So for me, I really just don't, unless it's a fact. Even if it's a fact, I still don't do it. First of all, I don't call people idiots. I don't call people stupid. I don't say the word retarded. I don't say any of that stuff. I don't even play around and say, oh, I'm stupid, or oh yeah, I'm a dummy, or blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't even be saying that right now, explain it to you guys, but I'm just trying to teach right now. I'm trying to explain something, right?
Yeah. You got to pass, bro.
Because your brain and your emotions, they don't know, like you say the word idiot, energy that comes with that word, and it's not a good energy. So even if you're just playing around with yourself, calling yourself an idiot because you did something stupid or whatever, your brain doesn't know that if you're just playing, it knows that you just said that word. Anyway, so that's something I've been practicing is not be negative and to just be positive. But dude, like I'm in business, like everybody's life's hard. So there's days where you just have a bad day. But if I'm like more negative that day, I even tell my wife, I'm like, man, I'm being super negative today, man. Oh, I need to freaking stop. Just call me out if I say anything negative because I just don't want to do that. But there's a difference between saying anything negative and like arguing with somebody or like your spouse or something like that. You're gonna argue, like whatever, but just like consistently in your day, just complaining about traffic, complaining about this person, complaining about the line at the grocery store, complaining about the don't do it. That I practice that. And then now something I need to get better at is actually affirming things. Lately, like the last month or so, I've been practicing on gratitude. Every single day I've been practicing gratitude without fail. And dude, like I'm so grateful, more grateful in my life. I see the small things, I see the big things, I see the things that are to come, the things that I've been through. Like I'm able to really be more grateful. And I practice that that thought process of being grateful or practicing gratitude. I've been doing that lately, and that's really been working for me. But for real, just like not being negative or anything and all that.
Yeah, I love that, bro. Yeah.
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 So that's psychological for me.
It's a spiritual habit. It's a spiritual. So what you're training your spirit to know what to expect, the expectation. And you do that physically, you do that in your relationships. What are the expectations? And you're the one that's setting them. So,
You're getting on books too, man. Like you got a book that you're reading.
oh yeah, the mindful
Yeah,
athlete,
the mindful athlete. You're
George
putting me on to
Mumford. Yeah.
that stuff too. Like you're always learning. You're always trying to like educate yourself psychologically. You're always trying to
Yeah.
improve. That's something I'm trying to get better at.
Autodidact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-taught. I love, and that's the thing is the world is your school,
No,
is your
100%.
campus, right? I think that's what it says down at BYU. I think I
Yeah.
stole that.
Especially with all this technology, man.
But it
You-
really is. It
yeah.
really is. No, you should be. So what it is, you're having controlled stress. It's like a rubber band, right? You're pulling it back, but if you pull it back too hard, then it's going to cause injury. So same thing with physically. If you go and you work out a little too hard without any type of preparation, and it's not part of your dailies, not part of your consistent flow of what you've been doing, you're going to get injured, no doubt. And same thing with the other components of your life, relationships.
Yeah, practicing that. I always, actually lately, since I got into a new gym, I got into a new just way, a new path down fitness, prepping for my show. So from now until April, anybody that I come in a relationship with in that path that kind of fits in that within my goals and how I view life, I'm constantly doing things to new relationships now down in the because I'm literally a ghost, right? I'm a ghost in a lot of things. I'm a ghost in business. I'm a ghost in fitness. I'm a ghost in social media. No one really knows who I am at all. Some important people do, which is cool, but the thing is I don't really care. So building these relationships, I'm on a path right now where I actually am building relationships. And I get to practice that every single week. I get to practice making new people I'm around. I get to practice making them smile, making them laugh, making them feel good about themselves, getting to know them, talking to this person, that person. And all right, cool. Like it's really just honing in on these new relationships that I've been building, that I've been trying to build over the last month or so. Like going down the fitness route, making sure I just have a good circle of fitness people that I'm surrounding myself with. But typically, like practicing like my current relationships, I just make sure I'm always serving people that I'm close with, and just practicing being a good friend, a good connection. Right now, I'm legitimately practicing getting new relationships and forming new just relationships. Right now,
Yeah.
I started about a little less than a month ago.
Yeah. I love that, bro. I love the relationship component of our life because we all believe that we're an island unto ourselves. So when we start to check in with others, people start to recognize, I call it check in with others. And that's what builds a relationship. So if you're practicing constant communication and checking in with that loved one or whoever it is you're trying to create a strong relationship with, that your relationship is only as strong as how many times you check in. So if you're not checking in, that relationship's probably not that important to you, or maybe some.
Yeah, it reminds me of checking with somebody right now. I haven't checked in with them. It's an important relationship to me. I haven't checked in with them.
Boom, right there. There you go. There we go. So that's applicable right there. So while you're doing that, Kenny, I want to talk about how it becomes familiarity, familiar to your body, to your mind, to your spirit of who you are. See, whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you're doing small, simple steps that you're slowly becoming closer that becoming a reality of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So your mind has to believe whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and then you see it come to fruition throughout your life. But you don't see it until you start to practice that. And until you practice it and you believe it in your mind, then you see the reality of what comes to fruition. I like the quote of Bruce Lee, I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. So whatever it is
Perfect
you're trying
practice.
to get. Yeah,
Perfect
exactly.
practice, man. Yeah.
I like Eric Thomas, E.T.
Tom-
Yeah, he said, practice make permanence. That's what he, yeah. So shout out to E.T., Eric Thomas. So consistency. So whatever you're doing on a consistent basis, that's really who you become. Those are your habits. Habits make us, habits break us. So whatever it is you're doing on a daily basis, then that defines who you are. If that's what you believe, you're living your beliefs on a daily basis. So dailies are important, practicing what you believe. And that's really what it comes down to when it comes to practice, Kenny.
Man, practice resources. How do you practice getting money?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you can practice your spending habits. It's hard. Like I like to spend a lot of money, man. Like it's stupid sometimes. So I'm really trying to practice like saving more than I spend, or saving more than I spend. So I have a lot more money and stuff like that. But sometimes it can get tough. So I'm really trying to just focus on that. It's like I have a weakness, and a weakness is like spending a lot of money. Right. So
Someone once said you can't spend yourself rich.
yeah.
I don't know who that person was, but anyways.
So I mean, with my business practicing with like business or work, like you're gonna fail, even if you have a job or a 9 to 5. How many? Say if you're in a good position right now with your job, how many times have you been said no to? How many jobs have you actually applied to get to where you're at now? Or how many times have you had to deal with rejection or improvement? Because I know in any company you have annual evaluations, you get raises and all that stuff. You got to continue to practice and do performance.
Yeah, you have to implement the plan that whoever it is that the CFO, whoever it is, has come up with the right numbers. Then you have to actually implement it.
Exactly. And so with me, even like
practice it.
I've been in that situation multiple times. Years ago, when I was actually working for companies, at one point I was trying to get an account executive position or an enterprise account executive position. So I would sell to like huge companies, like 1,000 employees. And I was just like, dang, I applied for 50 positions, man, 50. And I said no to positions they're offering me. They said no to me. I've interviewed multiple times. I finally got the enterprise account executive position I was looking for, and it took a long time to do. But I was able to do it. And so it's like keep practicing and trying to and just have that goal in mind or what you actually want to achieve, and don't quit. If you quit, you're not going to achieve it. Like I posted something the other day. I was like, if you start January 1st, you're going to fail. If you start now, you'll hit your goals. I was like, so start now. Make sure you start now. But like, a lot of people that they start something on January 1st, most of them fail. Not saying that if you're a failure or to fail as a drastic, I didn't, or I give up. It doesn't happen like that. It just happens by you steadily not doing it anymore, and then you just don't.
Yeah,
happens slowly, creeps in.
I wanted to talk about the linguistics involved, the language, the word, the context of practicing. If you look at a law practice, you can have so there's different types of practicing, right? Mm-hmm. And so what are they doing in a law office? They're practicing law. You go to a chiropractor or to a doctor, they're practicing, they're practicing, hopefully their gift, right? And so same applies to us. We should also be practicing our gifts, our talents, whatever it is we're good at. We talked about your skills to invest in your strengths, and when it comes to your qualities, invest in your weaknesses. So what it is you're trying to achieve, that's what you want to focus on.
100% medical practice. I remember, I forgot someone who told that to me. Doctors and hospitals,
they're practicing.
Justin taught me that. Correct?
They're practicing, and there's how else do you learn, right? So think of yourself mentally. That's what you're doing. If you're trying to become a bodybuilder or whatever it is you're doing, that's what you're doing on a daily basis. That's what your practice is. If you're trying to become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever it is, that's what you're practicing on a daily basis. But don't get it twisted. You have to practice what you preach, right? Even when it comes to that, practicing it. And it gets repetitive and it gets a little crazy, but that's the way it needs to be in order to burn those repetitive expectations into your mind, psychologically, into your conscious and subconscious minds. We're doing all this consciously, and you're affecting your subconscious mind. That's one of the most important components of all of this, or understandings of how this works and why you're doing this, is do it and do it over and over until you become obsessed with it. I think that about wraps it up, Kenny.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And redundancy is not an easy thing, right? Practicing and getting good at something is not easy. It's hard. But if you want your life to be easy, you want an easy route, you probably shouldn't listen to this podcast. Right. So to be totally honest with you, man, things we're talking about, it's tough. So just get out of your box and make yourself uncomfortable and start. Mm-hmm. So the next week we'll be talking about our next podcast. I say next week, but do we sometimes drop 2 of these in a week, 3 of these? Like next podcast, we'll be talking about the last principle of CMARSPP'S, which is shared.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing now. We'll dive into it. Dive into it. So
shared. We love it.
Boom, we're out.